Good evening, Bermuda, and welcome back for another Bermuda Youth Connect interview with your constituency candidates running in the general election of 2025. My name is Ajay Peets, and Haley Tiara joins me as we'll be conducting the candidate interview for those running in C31. We have the pleasure of speaking to the One Bermuda Alliance candidate, Linda Smith, Progressive Labor Party candidate, Crystal Caesar, Independent candidate, Juanae Crockwell, and independent candidate Karen Hodgkins.
So we've hosted a number of candidate interviews so far, and if you missed them, you can rewatch them on our YouTube channel at Bermuda Youth Connect. But tonight we'll be diving into issues affecting our community with a special focus on constituency 31. And our goal tonight is to provide voters with insight into your perspectives, priorities, and plans for the future. With that, we're going to go ahead and turn to the independent candidate, Ms. Crockwell, to provide a 1-minute opening remark.
Okay, well, first, I just want to extend my thanks for being invited here and to thank you, ladies, for this amazing work that you're doing for the general public. Bringing opportunities for candidates to talk to the people is absolutely essential when it comes to election time. So thank you for that. My name is Juanae Crockwell, and I am one of two independent candidates for constituency 31 Southampton West Central. A little bit about me. I'm a mother, I'm an advocate, a nonprofit leader, and community builder. I'm deeply committed to supporting Bermuda's most vulnerable, women, children, families, and those who are facing economic and social challenges. And I believe in policies that prioritize equity, sustainability, and community-driven solutions. And so that is what I will be bringing to my candidacy here. Also, I am a resident of constituency 31. I was born and raised and still live on Seymour Farm Road. I'm so blessed to raise my children in my childhood home. And so this area is very special to me. It's the only place that I would run. And so I'm just excited and grateful for this opportunity.
Thank you, Ms. Crockwell. I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Ms. Smith, the One Bermuda Alliance candidate. Ms. Smith, you're muted.
Apologies. I would like to just add on to the compliments that you got from Ms. Crockwell with respect to the work that you've been doing. It's been great to see the discussions and the candidates coming out. And certainly it's been very interesting to watch the number of candidates that have come forward, particularly the number of women. So I'm very honored to join all of you here tonight, and thank you for having me. My background is journalism and political science. I've had experience in the electric utility industry, in telecoms, in insurance and reinsurance, in running my own business, in government relations, and working with both political parties in different aspects over the course of a very long career. I am most concerned about the state of Bermuda, and that is the reason that I have decided to run at this time. I have not always wanted to be a politician, but I do want to see Bermuda in a better state than it is right now. I am also the mother of a daughter who went to school in the UK and has graduated with a master's degree and is working in the UK and would love to come home, but we do question whether there's going to be the opportunities for her to do that. And I am very concerned generally about the state of Bermuda and whether people who are retiring will be able to stay, and the effect of broken intergenerational families because people are having to leave because they can't afford to be here.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. I'm going to go ahead and invite Ms. Crystal Caesar to introduce herself.
Thank you and good evening. I can echo the sentiments of the former speakers in saying congratulations and job well done on this platform. Thank you for inviting me. I'm glad that I could make it. About me, well, most of the constituents that I have been in touch with over the last 4 years would know that I'm a daughter, a mother, an accountant. I have a background in finance. I have a CPA. I've worked in a variety of different industries, which would include hospitality, law, regulation, banking, and just regular old financial accounting. I am also a social justice advocate. I've worked in the background with several different agencies, both locally and abroad, to ensure that that ensure that all people, depending on where we are, have the ability to have a fair and just society. I am also a creative. While some people would know me best that way, I had many moons ago a career in dance, and so many people know me as a dancer. So I also have an appreciation for the arts, and I advocate very. I'm sorry, it looked like my feed fell off just then, so I'll continue. Yeah. Okay. All right. And so my passions are education, immigration, and the cost of living in Bermuda. And that's why I have decided to run and continue to run as the PLP candidate for this area. I've gotten to know the constituents over the last 7 years. I first ran in 2017, although I was not successful. I continue to work, and the people and constituents of 31 did find me I guess deserving enough, and I was elected in 2020. I've continued to grow my relationship with them and will continue to do so.
Thank you, Ms. Caesar. And last but not least, Ms. Hodgkins.
Hi, good afternoon, ladies. Once again, as everyone has said, thank you for inviting me. I'm very proud to see two ladies standing up and doing something as important as this. We need more women in politics, so maybe you'll end up in the same space one day. My name is Karen Hodgkins. Most people know me as Karen Magnum because that was my former name. I've had my own business, a health club, for 33 years. I'm passionate about helping people. I got involved in politics in 2009 to help my country. I have found that working in a political party system has not allowed me to reach the goal of helping my country, because that is what I'm passionate about, helping people. Helping people when it comes to the roads, anything, I'm somebody who will get it done. So like I said, I've 33 years in business, running my own business, making it successful, 15 years in politics, and I am ready to stand up in the House of Assembly and represent the constituency C31, Southampton West Central.
Thank you so much for all of your answers and introductions. We would like to open the floor to this question to each of you. What's the number what's the number one concern that you've heard from from constituents, and what policy will you advocate for to address it? Sorry. Let me reframe that. I'm so sorry. What's the number one concern that you've heard from your constituents, and what policy will you advocate to address it? And I would like to open the floor first to Ms. Crockwell.
Thank you. So I think this probably goes without saying that the number one concern on the doorsteps is the cost of living. I've watched several of your interviews with other candidates around Bermuda, and that's a common theme. Because some of my ideas, should I be elected, would be to work with all elected officials in the House of Assembly to be able to establish a living wage. I know that we have minimum wage, which was a great step, but we actually need a living wage that is going to match the cost of living here in Bermuda. Another policy, or actually, this isn't a new policy, but this would be better regulation of an existing policy. We currently have a list of essential goods and services that are exempted from customs duty. However, there is no regulation to ensure that those savings are being passed on to the consumer. And so by tightening up on regulation, I think that we could see a decrease in the cost of living. And my final idea that I'll just mention here today is affordable housing policies. So, housing and the cost of living kind of go hand in hand. And I would love to see incentives implemented for developers to build rent-controlled properties, and incentives given for landlords to rent at affordable prices.
Thank you so much, Ms. Crockwell. I would like to now pass the same question. And just as a refresher, what's the number one concern that you've heard from your constituents, and what policy will you advocate for to address it? And I would like to hand it over to MP Crystal Caesar.
Okay, thank you. It's actually not one, there are two, and they're in very strong competition. So yes, as Ms. Crockwell mentioned, the cost of living, but also the state of the roads in Bermuda. That seems to be a very hot button topic. And what we are planning, the PRP are planning to do, is to continue to pave the roads as we find that they are needing. Obviously, they're needing. Everyone's saying to me how the roads have caused one or two, maybe three, maybe even all four tires. So that's something that we need to address to make the roads safer in Bermuda to travel. In addition, yes, the cost of living. One of the things that I will be continuing to advocate for is ensuring that any of the tax and duty reliefs that have been provided to retailers in Bermuda, that it will be passed on to the individual consumers. What we need is some regulation of that. Or whilst we have done these things, we haven't necessarily seen it translate into our bills at the grocery line. And that is something that the PRP is committed to do, to ensuring that the duties and the tax reliefs that we give, that we actually do see that. The other thing, obviously, is relieving other taxes, which would be land tax and any other additional duties, taxes that we as individual consumers have to bear the burden of. And with the corporate income tax coming online, we will be able to direct some of that to relieve the cost burden on the public.
Thank you so much, MP Caesar. And now I would like to pass it on to independent candidate Linda Smith from the OBA.
Oh, okay. I'm not independent, but okay. I'm with the
I'm so
OVA.
sorry.
That's all right. I was expecting Karen to talk, and so you caught me off guard. I thought Karen's going to speak next, but all of the issues that we're hearing on the doorstep are actually interconnected, and to a large extent, they speak to a lack of funds to support the community in the way that we are used to having it supported. So we have seen somewhere between 6,000 and 4,000, 6,000 Bermudians and about 4,000 non-Bermudians leave the island. And with them has gone the taxes that they paid and the goods that they paid for. And so that pot of paying for public goods and services is less than it otherwise was, which means that we all pay more for everything else. And so we have to look at what we're going to do in terms of trying to get our numbers up and get more people in the economy so that we can share the costs with additional people. That actually extends into things like, not only the costs of getting things here, but also the cost of things like healthcare. And it also speaks to the demographics. So when you can start making some changes in one area, you're going to see some benefits in others. And so because it is all interrelated and systemic, there isn't a silver bullet to, all of a sudden make everything, improve. But certainly from the cost of living perspective, one of the things that could be done pretty urgently and upright would be to take a look at the elements of the cost of essential items in Bermuda, not only the customs duty tariff, but how goods are being distributed and priced and retailed in Bermuda, and to give the Consumer Affairs Bureau a bit more teeth and perhaps understanding of what the elements are and the thresholds, so that prices can be monitored from a perspective of people who actually understand the pricing mechanisms and can make determinations as to whether it's price gouging or there are other elements that we can play with to bring prices down.
Thank you so much, Ms. Smith. And finally, I would like to open the floor to independent candidate Karen Hodgkins.
Yes. So I've heard quite a few things. I did hear the same about the roads, as we all do. Now, you did say we were allowed to ask some questions. So, Crystal, I'm just curious why we have had such poor standards in our roads. I've never seen it like this in Bermuda. The health and safety of our nation, people are going up and down those roads. Recently, we had a witness to someone actually dying. They witnessed it. So why is it not a priority of the government to take care of our roads? Why has it waited this long to an election? And I'm asking that respectfully because I really want to know why we've let it get to this state. Now, she can ask that. The other thing I've heard, obviously, education. Education is a big thing in constituency 31. I've heard a little different than I guess some of my other and candidates here. But education, there seems to be some ministerial interference in education rather than letting the civil servants do what we pay them to do. We have ministers that are directing the education system. And seniors is another issue. In-house, finding places for our seniors. Those are the three things that I've come across as I've been going through the constituency. But the roads is what concerns me the most because we do travel on it every day. And it is really, as a government, you have to take care of your infrastructure. You have to take care of your people. You have to take care of our health and safety. We are going up and down those roads all the time. We don't know how many accidents. All that they say there's accidents all the time, but how's it being caused? From the roads.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Hopkins. And before we move on, just want to give an opportunity for Ms. Caesar to briefly respond to that question that Ms. Hodgkins had, if you'd like.
Sure. The infrastructure is always and it continues and it has always been a priority of the government. And that is why you have seen improvements in certain areas. One would note that the government is one of two plants in Bermuda that has the equipment necessary to pave the roads. There was a time when obviously years ago, when the equipment that was needed to pave the roads were newer, and so they could be paved more often. As we know, things age and come to the end of their useful life. We have found that that is not the case. And in addition, we also did not have sufficient materials on island. As we all know, we have to import most things into Bermuda, and the aggregate that is required in order to pave our roads is one of those. Unfortunately, the machinery in government did come to the end of its useful life. We did have to outsource to the other local business that does pave roads. And of course, it's a private business, so it has its priorities. So the government works did not always get the priority. So I will say that we have cared and we do care and we continue to, because now that we have a new machine and the requisite aggregate on island, you will see that paving happening much more often. If one would also recognize that at one point, our major utility company was doing trenching all across the island in order to update their infrastructure, which they needed to do, which of course would affect the state of the roads. And because there wasn't sufficient aggregate to keep up, unfortunately, so when they repaved, some of those areas did not fall back into the right, they didn't mesh properly, right? So when it rained, some of that did come up. Now, do we care? We absolutely do. And I will say that my colleague, the Honorable Colonel Birch, has had several press conferences on our ability, our willingness, our direction. And unfortunately, things do happen. Running government is not as easy as just going to the store and getting it. This is a major undertaking. And so, yes, we obviously do care. And as you will see, many of the roads are definitely being paved now.
Thank you so much, MP Crystal Caesar. We're just going to shift gears onto our next question. Thank you so much for elaborating on that question. I would like to pass the floor to independent candidate Juanae Crockwell. As the executive director of the Women's Resource Center, you've championed women's empowerment and support. How will you apply this experience to advocate for and improve women's lives in your constituency?
So first, I just want to say that part of my experience is advocacy in general, and so here in this professional capacity, I do focus on women, and so I will bring that same focus to the House. There are areas where legislation can either be improved or created to protect women better and to provide a better quality of life. There are specific areas that I think are quick wins, which I did notice were included in the PLP platform. So I will, make reference to that. But one of the issues that the Women's Resource Center has raised recently is access to abortion, and how, there is no equivalent legislation that governs a man's anatomy. And so, it's time for us to take a systemic look at our legislation and identify the ones that are archaic and need improvement. And so that's something that I would really want to be a part of, and not just to benefit women, but to benefit the community in general, have legislation that is gender equal, to have legislation that actually takes into account all of the differences that we have, whether it's race, age, gender, sexual orientation. And so that's what I would bring, this advocacy experience, into the House. We're doing lots of work regarding domestic abuse right now in our community, and we've seen a huge improvement in how it is received and how it is advocated for. And so I would want to continue that. And really, it's about understanding the value of caring for the women in our community and what that does for the community. I do believe that women are the backbone of any community. And here we are, a panel of 4 female candidates, who I think we all have something incredible to offer Bermuda. And so just recognizing that when we care for our women and when we advocate for our women, the entire community is strengthened as a result.
Thank you so much. That was very powerful, and I appreciate your response. Now, moving on to independent candidate Karen Hodgkins. Your campaign highlights a strong commitment to social issues such as affordable housing, domestic violence protection, and cost of living challenges. How do you plan to leverage your 30 plus year experience of business ownership to implement practical solutions for Southampton West Central?
Well, specifically for Southampton West Central, as an independent candidate, I can work directly with my constituents and then also take legislation directly to the House as a private member's bill. There are specific things like the Mental Health Act, the Women's, we need Anti-Harassment Act, all needs to be updated to the levels of at least the UK. There are gaps where people, I don't know if people are aware, but with mental health, you have to wait till someone tries to kill themselves or kill somebody else before they get help. And the hospital can't help, the police can't help because the legislation is not up to par. So a lot of these things are non-costly fix, things that can be a priority. Now, these might be a priority for me, but I know they will affect the whole community. Especially women's. We've had cases, of deaths because of domestic violence. I'm sorry, the second part was the question was?
Yes, not a problem.
No, what was the
Second
second
part is
Yeah.
the second part was how are you going to leverage your business experience to implement practical solutions within your constituency?
Well, I don't know if between my constituency, I'll be the conduit to the House of Assembly. So besides the parochial issues, I'll help get those done. But we can take legislation, ideas, thoughts directly from constituency. My plan is, I've already told my constituents, is to have a team, have a meeting monthly. We'll discuss the legislation that's in the House. We can bring legislation straight from. I have some people in my area that want legislation they have ideas for the House. We need to take the best of Bermuda, and this goes across all the constituencies. There's ideas everywhere. This is why I decided to stand as an independent, because all we're looking at is a small little caucus inside these political parties. What about the rest of Bermuda? and all the thoughts and all the ideas and all the brilliant people we have on this island. Let's take those thoughts. So in my constituency specifically, that's what I'll be doing, taking my constituents' thoughts and ideas and on legislation, but also taking bills straight to the House, private members' bills that we think will be appropriate.
Thank you so much for elaborating on that. I would like to bring MP Crystal Caesar into the conversation. Ms. Caesar, in 2020, you flipped the C31 seat once held by the OBA, and before that, the UBP, since that one seat system. What's changed with your leadership, and why should C31 elect you again?
Well, I wouldn't say something has changed. I think that what I have is more experience in the legislative and parliamentary process. So I bring a level of experience that I think the constituents know and can trust. I constantly keep in contact with my constituents by either having constituency clinics where they can see me physically, and or reaching out, meeting with them, helping them to navigate this monster we call the government system, access the services that they require. And so I think why they should elect me or consider me for election is the fact that of the four candidates, I'm the one who actually has the direct experience in the legislative process and the parliamentary process. In addition, I do advocate on behalf of my constituents. They will know that when they come to me, I say, what ideas do you have on a particular issue? And I take it back. I take it back to the caucus. And we discuss it. And so that's what all of us do. We all have constituents. We all meet with them consistently. And oftentimes we don't have all the answers. I get some brilliant ideas from my constituents. And what I do is bring it back to the caucus, to the party, to have that discussion, to talk about the concerns, even of some of the things that we're doing. And so I want my constituents to know that I will continue to advocate for them. I will fight for them. I care deeply. I have a lot of empathy for what everyone's feeling because I live it as well. And I just want them to understand and know that Crystal Caesar will do what she needs to do to advocate and fight for them.
Thank you so much, MP Caesar. Now bringing OBA candidate Linda Smith into the conversation. With your extensive background in journalism, communications, and corporate relations, how do you plan to leverage your experience to effectively address the concerns of Southampton West Central?
Well, I think the concerns of Southampton West Central, some of them are obviously shared across Bermuda, things like we did talk about the cost of living. But specifically in Southampton West Central, we have a fairly large senior community, and they are very concerned about the state of the roads and the safety of just going out on the roads, in particular areas off of Middle Road, trying to get onto Middle Road from places like Granaway Heights Drive. There's concerns about crossing the road to get to the bus shelters, about children walking down the road. From Evans Bay, they're concerned about trying to walk to get the ferry at Rockaway. And so there are a lot of, and these are daily concerns. I mean, people are saying things like, I leave the house before the sun comes up so that I can get out on the main road before the traffic all starts coming by, so that I feel like, so I'll move early just so that I can get out the gate. They have been asking for mirrors. They've been asking for things they haven't gotten. What they would ideally like to see would be some rumble strips and also some lights similar to what we have seen erected in Paget. So those are kind of their really daily concerns, and those issues kind of need to be dealt with. And then the bigger issues are the bigger issues, and they require, they go beyond just one constituent. They speak to Bermuda generally, and those are covered heavily in the OBA platform. And like I said, they are all interconnected. So you start working on a multitude of them at the same time. And as you progress in one area, you'll see benefits in others. So that's as I see the way forward. I can't hear you.
We can't hear you. We can't hear you.
Sorry. Okay.
My apologies. Thank you so much for your answer. And I would like to pass the baton to Ms. Crockwell. So given your brother's influence on your decision to run as an independent candidate, and your strong views on the limitations of party politics. How do you plan to foster collaboration among independent MPs to address the long-term challenges facing Bermuda, especially in areas such as cost of living?
So first, I just like to say that my intention, if elected, is to foster collaboration with all members of parliament in the House. And one thing that I've been sharing on the doorsteps and in other media interviews is that the government is made up of all elected officials, not just those who may be a part of the majority party. And so when we start to look at government in that sense, the essence of it and the success of any government relies on collaboration. And I think some of the failures that previous administrations have had has been due to a lack of willingness to collaborate. And so that is essentially why I wanted to run as an independent, because I don't want any limitations on who I can work with and what I can do and what I can say and how I can advocate for the people in my neighborhood. And so I intend to work with everyone. And how we'll do that? Well, there's an amazing model actually in Guernsey that I've been raving about, because Guernsey actually does not have political parties and they function within the similar parliamentary system as Bermuda. It's a Westminster system. And so everyone's elected as an independent, and then committees are formed. And those committees include various different members of parliament. That's what we would call them, members of parliament, but also members of the community. And so one thing that I would love to do, in addition to working with parliamentary colleagues, because really we have to stop thinking that we can't work together. This question of how will we work together? We'll work together like any other people with a common goal would work together. But party politics has made that so absurd to even conceptualize that we actually have to ask this question of candidates, of how we will work with our other colleagues. And that is what I do every day when I come to work. I work with people across various different organizations with a common goal. And so sorry, got a little passionate there because
Not
I
a
really
problem.
I really find that to be just wild that we have to explain that. But in Guernsey, they have these committees that comprise of members of parliament, but also members from the community. And so what I would love to do is actually establish an advisory committee from the residents of constituency 31 to help advise me once I'm elected. And I can take that to my parliamentary colleagues, because I'm not coming in to the House to represent Juanae Crockwell. I'm coming into the House to represent the residents of constituency 31, and I cannot do that without consultation. And as I've been canvassing, I have seen that we have such a plethora of experience and expertise right in South Central West Central. I have canvassed gynecologists, owners of medical labs, real estate professionals, teachers, every expertise that I would need to pull on exists in the constituency, and it exists across our island. And so if we work from that perspective, how could we not work together, and how could we not progress?
Thank you so much. And this segues perfectly into my next question, and I would like to bring Ms. Hodgkins into the conversation. In an article you wrote, it says that you believe that we should go back to our roots with an independent MP parliament. You also noted that this is the time it would be different, as Bermuda is completely changed. The socioeconomic system is different. Our people are more diverse. We are more integrated and better for it. Although Bermuda is diverse, there is still a lot of inequality, and some worry that independence lacks structure for accountability. What do you say to people who feel uncertain about voting for an independent candidate?
Well, an independent candidate, even though you might see we're by ourselves, we are not really by ourselves, because we are representing 1,200 people in our constituency. So we are going to be working together just like anybody else. I mean, it's kind of hard to answer that question in the sense that we don't know what's going to happen on the election day, but we work together. We're all Bermudians. So, I mean, originally this is how Bermuda was formed, independence. And then we had a lot of other issues back there, like racism. Like you said, I said in the article, it was a different scenario. Today, young people do not think along those lines. We have interracial marriages. We have people from all different nations here in Bermuda. It's a whole different time. But the party politics isn't working because it's so negative, so back and forth. And what it's doing is just poisoning our young people with the negativity of it's not making any progress. There's no plan. I don't see a plan anywhere. Where is the plan? Where are the goals for this country? We need a plan. We need to go forward as a country. We need to have an actual plan, a business plan that we can follow to reach the goals that we need to get to reach. But back to the youth, you were talking about the youth, correct? You wanted to know what young people?
No, I was asking
I
if you
lost
could
my train of
speak.
thought a little bit there, so let's come
No,
back.
it's perfectly fine. I was asking if you could speak to your constituents specifically, and what do you say to people who feel uncertain about voting for an independent candidate?
Oh, well, yeah. So it's very similar to what Juanae said. It's a board of directors. For example, you have a company, you have a board of directors. Do you believe that all those people actually agree on the same thing? They all have different thoughts. So you all have different thoughts. You either come to consensus and you come to agreement. You have a vote about which way we should go. So for people that give me that argument, that's the case I give. You're saying that companies can't run because they have diverse ideas in a board of directors. Even in a caucus, even in political parties in a caucus, there's a diversity. You have arguments, you have people back and forth, but the problem is that a lot of times the caucus members' voices are not heard. So this time it's different. I love it. I am so thankful. My time, my hard work, I am doing it. I'm taking care of it. I'm going to get it done. I don't have anybody to answer to except my constituents and make them happy and get to the House of Assembly. So it's a whole different ballgame.
Thank you so much, Ms. Hoskins, and I would like to bring MP Caesar into the conversation. Your decision to support the conversion of Triton House into staff housing highlights your commitment to addressing Bermuda's housing challenges. How do you plan to tackle housing affordability and accessibility issues within your constituency further?
Yes, I was happy to support that development because obviously it was needed, and it actually has provided, I believe, 16 people with somewhere to lay their heads at night. So I was happy to make that decision. And what I would do is basically continue to support the efforts of the party to ensure that there is a level of advocacy for low-cost housing and just regular housing, to be quite honest. Now, within the constituency, there have been some places that I've noted that are, for whatever reason, no one's living there. They are in a level of maybe disrepair. And the benefit of having many colleagues around me is that they have resources to assist people, whether it be through renovations, be through trucking, through cleaning, through all sorts of things. So I will call on my colleagues and their resources in order to assist people in getting their homes in a state that would allow them to rent them and to live appropriately. In addition, we are looking at regulation as it pertains to the cost of living in terms of what mortgages are costing our Bermudians. And one will note that when the base rate decreases in the US, although they say when the US sneezes, we get a cold, that doesn't seem to translate when it comes to interest rates. And so we'd like to see and have some level of I don't want to say regulation, but more influence in with the banks so that our people are not paying interest rates on their mortgages and other things that is cost absorbent. I am very, very conscious that there needs to be a level of forward planning as well as it pertains to people's homes. So when someone passes and then the house is divided several different ways, we'd like to also come up with some solutions to assist people in doing some forward planning, some estate planning, some financial planning, such that homes do not sit on a property not being developed, not being cared for, and so that we do have these houses back on the market so that people can gain income and also by extension, have somewhere to live.
Thank you so much, MP Caesar. So the race in constituency 31 brings about a historical moment, as this is the first four-woman race in a general election. How does it feel to be a part of this moment? And I would like to pass this question first to Ms. Smith.
Thank you very much. I just wanted just to respond to something that Crystal said about derelict houses. And, part of what is happening with those derelict houses is they're going back and back and back because of the long time it's taking for the probate process. And so they are sitting there and they're deteriorating as opposed to being able to be, sorted out legally and brought to the market in a better condition than they are. So that's something that could be looked at and dealt with, fairly quickly and would help to solve that problem. So it kind of goes back to what I said about everything being interconnected, right? How does it feel to be a woman and running in this four-woman race? I think it's great. I love to see women are the backbone of any community. And I think that when you look at the number of women who are running across the board, not just in this constituency, but in all others as well, and the number of them, these are women whose time commitments there's a lot of competition for their time. There's a lot of competition for their attention. Most of them work. Most of them have families. They might have children. They might have elderly parents that they're taking care of. They're involved in their communities. And so for these women to step forward and take this on now, I think actually does speak to the concern that these women have about the state of Bermuda and the fact that they believe, and I believe, that we are at a tipping point. And if we don't improve things fairly quickly, we are going to get to a point of no return. So I think it speaks to the urgency that women see in terms of getting this right.
Thank you so much, Ms. Smith. Ms. Crockwell, how does it feel to be in a four-woman race?
I wouldn't say it feels good, but of course it's almost like a competition, right? So that aspect of it, I love to work with women. And so this is new to me, right? But what I'm particularly excited about and the historical significance is just that, as Ms. Smith said, there are so many women coming out, putting themselves forward for public service, which I love because our representation in Parliament is not equal. But bigger than just this one election and this constituency, women have always been agents of change. Any social change has been majorly influenced by women. Even when we weren't able to be at the forefront of it, we were in the back, right? And we were pushing it. And so I see this as the beginning of another huge social shift that is being led by women. And I'm excited to see where this goes. For me, this is about so much more than the 2025 general election. This is about systemic change. This is about shifting our mindset. And I'm excited to be a part of that. And I'm excited for 10 years from now to look back and see on what this election meant for the future of our country.
Thank you so much, MP Caesar. How does it feel to be in this historic four-woman race?
Well, to be quite honest with you, I didn't really recognize it until maybe nomination day, because I've just been doing the work. I didn't even think about the fact that there were 3 other women who entered the race, because I'm just doing what I need to do, because I am interested in activism. I'm interested in a fair Bermuda. I'm interested in making sure that my constituents are served. But now that people have brought it to my attention, I think it is historic, and I think it does show that women have the ability and the chutzpah to step forward and to advocate for the people that they represent. And I think that it's a great thing that all of us are out meeting with people, talking to the constituents, understanding their needs. I must say, I feel very confident that I will retain my seat. And I do hope that in the future, the ideas that these ladies have, in addition to the constituents that I continue to canvass throughout the time that I am elected, we can all work together, because I am a representative. I am not the person who tells the constituents what to do. I'm the one who goes and represents their ideas, their notions, their concerns. And I think as women, we oftentimes have more empathy when it comes to those things. And we bring a different insight in rooms that oftentimes have been dominated by males. So I think it is historic. I recognize it and accept it. But I think I'm just so busy trying to do what I need to do to serve the constituents that it probably won't really hit me until later. But I feel honored. I feel honored that we are making history, all four of us.
Thank you so much. And Ms. Hodgkins, how does it feel for you?
I do agree that it's historical to have 4 women running in one constituency. But more, I think the history is going to be made in the independent movement. This is historic, having 27 independent candidates. This is what's going to make history, that we're going to change direction, that we're going to find a new path for Bermuda, a positive path, a path that will take us on a journey that will make our people happier. And this is what is important to me more than just being a woman, that it is male dominated. This is what I found very difficult, I have to admit, after having run my own business since 26 years old. To be in a male dominated world was very new to me. So I don't necessarily view myself just as a woman, but as an entrepreneur, a business owner, a passionate person, someone who is going to make a difference when it comes to this independent movement and take our people away from this back and forth negativity that our young people are seeing daily. And this is why I believe we have so much poor behavior from our young people. We have to be the examples. We have to be the leaders. We have to be the ones that show them the way. And we're not seeing that.
Thank you so much. Before we close the discussion, we would like to give each candidate 1 minute to express closing remarks to their constituents. I'd like to first start with Ms. Smith.
I'm sorry, the question broke up. I didn't hear. I only caught the tail end of the question because it was breaking up for some reason.
Oh, you have 1 minute to give closing remarks to your constituents.
Okay, thank you. I guess my closing remarks are that we are at an unprecedented time. Bermuda is in a state where change needs to be made, and it needs to be made quickly, and it needs to be made with the understanding of the pain that the country is going through and that the people are going through, and taking a look at making it better for today, but also developing a path for the future that includes opportunities for Bermudians to continue to stay here, opportunities for Bermudians who may want to come back, so that we can thrive and get Bermuda back to where it was once a while ago, about 20 years ago, to where it's a place that people want to live and we can all be proud of. And right now, the pride is wearing a little thin when we take a look at things like the roads, the parks, our behavior on the roads, the education system, and so many things that are falling apart. So let's get back to fixing those things that are broken and be as proud as we used to be.
Thank you. Next, Ms. Crockwell, 1 minute for closing remarks.
So I'd just like to end with the fact that I'm an advocate. I've been advocating for over 10 years. As you know, currently I'm here at the Women's Resource Center, but my track record of advocacy speaks for itself. And so I will bring that same commitment to advocating for the residents of constituency 31. I will be an active representative. I live in the area, so I will be around. I will see you. I will be available. And I really want to change the way we do government in Bermuda. I want to change the way we are represented. We are small enough where we can be represented much more intimately. We can build relationships and we can really have quality engagement. And that's what I would like to bring to our constituency. I think that successive governments or successive representatives have failed. at representing us actively. And what I also bring is a commitment to change. We are at a crossroads, and we have a choice. On February 18th, this is a choice, and the choice isn't just which one of these candidates will we vote for, but what is the future that we want for this country, and is this system working for us? It served its place and it had a time, but is this what we want to continue doing? And so I stand as a candidate not just to represent you as residents, but to represent change and moving our country forward.
Thank you so much. And Ms. Caesar, 1 minute for closing remarks.
Okay, thank you. Edmund Burke said that those who don't know history are doomed to repeat it. And to the constituents of C31 and actually to the country of Bermuda, I think one of the nuances that we keep hearing is that we need to get away from party politics. The reason we have party politics is because we had independent candidates, because interests were not being served by the general populace. Keep in mind, and I want to break the myth that because you are a party, that you somehow only think one way. We are all a bunch of leaders, 36 of us leaders who have come together to exchange ideas, to represent people, the constituents of our various areas. And we do so fiercely, we do so with compassion, we do so with empathy and a level of experience. I am one of those people. You have trusted me since 2020, and I ask that you will continue to do so, because just like you, I have children, I have a mother, I have relatives. I care what happens in this country. I have for the last 4 years, and I will continue to do so. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And finally, Ms. Hodgkins, can you please give 1 minute closing remarks?
Yes, thank you. First of all, thank you for having me again. You're doing a wonderful job on this. Bermuda and Southampton West Central, I'm here ready to serve you, to listen, and to get things done for the community. I'm a business owner who has taken my business from a small business to a 11,000 square foot business. I know how to get things done. I know how to get the small things done. I know how to get the big things done. And I am a public servant, and I'm ready to work for you and serve the country.
Thank you so much. And we would like to thank each of you for coming onto our show to share your insights. And we would also like to thank the audience for tuning in. Before we go, don't forget to tune in tomorrow. We will host another discussion with the candidates of C35 at 11 o'clock a.m. Good evening and have a good night.
Thanks, ladies.
Good evening. I wasn't sure if I was supposed to say thanks or.
Sure.